I know they say one day longer food. Sorry. I think
right there. I'm done.
I'm glad you found some seeds.
I need to get my start back there. I just made her come over here. Next week. Okay. All right. I'm Sister Jody VanDrimmelen. I am happy to have you here today. You are, I think, my 15th time to do this workshop. It's a very it's been a popular one. I do it with single adults. I do it with married couples. I do it for retreats. This is one I've done a lot. So I love it. It's one of my favorite ones. So I'm excited to share it with you. I will tell you right now, the whole PowerPoint is going to be given to Sister Moncrief, and she's going to post it on the Widower site along with any of my other PowerPoints today. So you don't have to take copious notes. If you really want to hear it again, it's actually on my YouTube channel. There's like 3 things on there, and I didn't do it. Somebody did it for me. So this whole presentation is also already out there, and you can rewatch it if you feel so inclined later. Okay, there you go. Hi, are you here to introduce me?
Yes. Oh, this is Judy, and she's amazing. Jody.
My mother-in-law called me Judy, and she didn't like me. So,
Jody, yes, amazing. And I have no idea what Waffles.
I know. I say which I call. All right, brothers and sisters, welcome to this class. I'm glad to be here with you. I come to you from Arlington, Texas. Hey, if you have a seat by you, will you raise your hand? There's got people coming in. Anybody got a seat by you? There's a couple over there. Okay, here we go. All right. Now, I love the title of this topic. I will say to you, it is not what I thought of. I had this experience of the singles in Texas often ask me to teach classes on dating and relationships and that kind of stuff. And so I did what every good person does that has no idea what they're talking about. I read books. So one day my kids come in and sitting on my desk are really these fun books. Here's the first one. If men don't listen and women can't read maps. Here's another one, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. I'd read that many years ago. And then I found this one, Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. So if you want an expanded version of this, go check that book out, okay? It's also available on an audiobook, but you're gonna get that and the Jody combination stuff today. But it is a very common problem, and since I'm a therapist, so you guys don't know me, I'm a social worker. I have a private practice in Arlington. About 50% of the couple work I do has to deal with this specific topic because men and women don't have really great communication skills, mostly because they don't understand what's different. They think, well, they ought to think like I think. So for instance, a woman will often say, if we can just keep talking, we'll figure it out. What you're basically saying, ladies, is I need you to be a woman right now. And if the men will say, if she just shut up, we can get her, if she just stopped talking about it, it would be fine. We could just leave it behind and go on. And what you're basically saying to the women in your life are, I need you to be a man. Now, I'm a pretty good therapist, but I'm going to tell you, I cannot turn men into women and women into men. But what I can do is help you to understand how you can communicate more effectively. And the kind of the clue here I'm going to give you at the beginning of this is you need to understand how the person you're talking to is hearing you, not how you're working at it, but how they're hearing you. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. Oops, sorry, yeah, all right, we got shoes. Those aren't going to fit you.
I'll try and work
Right.
today.
So it's not that men and women are different, not better, not worse, just different. So start with that to start with, okay? So for instance, men, when you go to the bathroom, I don't think I've ever said you guys say, come to the bathroom with me, ever. You guys don't do that, right? Men will flip channels to miss commercials. Women, in stressful situations, men watch sports in the big countries. Okay, for women, we're a little bit different, okay? We go to the restroom. Do you ever, ladies ever say, come, let's go to the bathroom, and they all go? Or one lady gets up and three of them goes with you, right? They go to the group, say, the gaggle approach is how we kind of, we're better in numbers, right? There's 60 in numbers, ladies. They're okay with commercials. I remember when my husband died, one of the things that I hated the most about watching TV with him is he would always split the channels and never get back to the beginning of the next section. Anybody else in that group? Like, so I'm okay to watch the commercials so I don't miss 1 minute of it coming back, but that didn't make him happy. That was one of the changes, by the way. I thought, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Okay. And in stressful situations, we chocolate and jump. Okay. Now, let me say this. I'm going to talk in broad generalities here. Some women are more like waffles and some men are more like spaghetti. But usually what we find in a relationship is waffles don't marry waffles and spaghettis don't marry spaghettis about how they communicate. So if you identify more with the waffle thinking, then realize that you're probably more attracted to someone who's got spaghetti thinking and vice versa, okay? So just put yourself in whatever camp you need to be in. And when I start talking about it, you'll go, oh, I think I am a waffle, or oh, I think I am spaghetti. And then listen to the other stuff so you know what to do, okay? All right, so here we go. Different worlds. Men marvel at the way a woman can walk into a room full of people and instantly have a commentary on each person, but still cannot notice the flashing light on a car dashboard. Right? For a broad picture kind of a thing, whereas the men are more, not broad picture, here's the men. Women marvel at how a man can consistently parallel park a car in a tight space using the rearview mirror, but will drive around for hours looking but not asking for directions. Okay, so different, not better or worse, just different than. Now, by the way, I am just convinced that a man created a navigator, we never had to ask it yet. Okay? One of the most basic differences in this is how we kind of approach life. So we're going to go way back to the caveman days. So what the men's job was, we're going to call them the lunch chasers. They were in charge of going out, hunting woolly beast, bringing it back to cave, and woman was in charge of defending the nest while he's away, and then taking what he brought back and feeding the family. We still see that so much prevalent in how men and women function in society, although there's a little blurring now in the newer generations, but mostly, if you look in the family proclamation, we have the men's job as provide, reside, protect, which is a lot like the lunch chaser, and we have the women described as nurture, that's our job, which is a lot like the nest, defender, and feeder of people, okay? So we have to start with that. Now, I'm gonna just do a little fun to see how you guys do with this. Okay, men, I want you to look at this for a minute. And I have this experience, I'll tell you, this is a restaurant booth, and this way is the door is this way. When you come into the restaurant, which chair do you want, don't say yet, but just which chair, men, do you want to sit in? Do you want to sit in this one or this one? Don't tell them for a minute. Then you just know where you are, okay? The door's over here. Door's over here. Do you want in this chair that faces that, or do you want to be in this chair that faces that? No, I'm asking the men, not you. Okay, men, you got it?
Yep.
Okay, I want you on the count of 3 to point to which chair you want. Do you want this one that points that way, or this one where you can see that way? Which one do you want? Point. You want that door where you can't, that you don't know who's coming in behind you?
No, I want this chair.
You want this chair,
so
so you can see this way.
Yeah.
Any girls, I'm gonna ask you a question. Why do the men want this chair so they can see that way? Yeah, they want to know which way the door is in case something comes through the door. They did a very interesting experiment years ago. They marched a bunch of men and women through a big building. And at the end of it, they gave them a list, gave them a survey. And they asked the question, how many exits were in the first room we went through? How many? And then they also asked what was the color of, like, for instance, the guy standing at the door, what was he wearing? What color was what he was wearing? And they asked all of these things. The men knew exactly how many exits. Women thought there were 2, the one that came in and the one that went out, were actually 6. And the men had no idea there was anybody standing by the door. Okay, so we have a very different set of what we're going to notice. So for instance, have you ever said to your significant other, didn't you see that? They say no. And you go, how could you not see it? Do you have 2 eyeballs? It's because we don't notice the same things. We, like, for instance, sometimes a man will walk through a room and there's a woman crying and he doesn't even notice that because he doesn't want to, first of all. Okay, and then, but he may not even notice that, or notice that your child comes in the day and he's had a hard day. They don't really notice that oftentimes because they're so focused in on different things. So a lot of the differences between us is what it is we're focusing in on naturally in our own world. The challenge comes when you now are playing both roles as a parent. Like noticing those things and kind of getting it done, you're now having to expand what's happening in your world or you're going to kind of fall apart. Okay, so one of the biggest differences is what we notice just in everyday life as we go by. Okay, I will tell you my best story of this is every time I buy a car, the first question my sons ask me is, what kind of wheels does your car have? And I say round and black. Yeah, you guys are like, well, and Elliott's going, wow, that's perfectly fine, right? No, there are different kinds of wheels that I think they're talking about what the wheel goes around. Is that what they're talking about, guys? What kind of wheels the cars are, right? I know the rims, thank you. It has a name, I'm just not a car person. Okay, so we notice different things. That's the first thing you want to notice is that's why sometimes it's great to be equally yoked. You're picking up part of it and the other is picking up the other part. And that's lovely to notice, but you also will notice that in conversations, they're honing in on something different than you noticed a lot of times, okay? All right, now there is a difference in how your brain actually functions. Men predominantly are going to be on the left side of the brain. Left side of the brain is more of the logical side. That doesn't mean women aren't logical. Ladies don't have a cow and get cheaters. But they often look at things in a logical sequence of trying to figure things out. They're often really great problem solvers. And that's great when you need help with problem solving, that's fabulous. Women, we actually, there is this little thing, colostrum right here in between the center. And this is like, on men, it's like a one-way street. On women, it's like a super highway because we use both sides of the brain simultaneously. So if you're looking for something creative, a lot of times women are going to come up with a more creative solution, but miss a lot of the details, and the men will carry in the details. So if you're frustrated with somebody that is not seeing the logical side of this, it might be because they are just approaching life. They think differently than you think. Okay, so understanding that we do both. Now, women, we can do both. We generally don't want to do them simultaneously. We're going to do them one side back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay. This is a quote that I love. It says, men go shopping to buy what they need. Women go shopping to find out what they need. Okay, so it looks a little bit like this. Think of men going into a store as a search and destroy and rescue mission. And by the way, if you say to a man, can you stop and get milk and bread on the way home? Most of them are thinking, how can I get in and out as quick as possible? Okay, so they'll get in. I can stop at a 7-Eleven. They have both those in and out. I do not want to go to Walmart. That's way too big of a store. Okay, but women, we're not most likely to go in and look in every single store. And by the way, they never do stop at the Gap. Somebody pointed that out to me. They were supposed to go to the Gap, buy a pair of pants, and they never made it. They just kept going. And they probably left with 6 sacks, but no pants. Okay, so it's not uncommon for a woman to go into a grocery store and have an emotional experience there. They want to go up and down the aisles. Okay, so if you go shopping with a woman, you need to know she's probably going to go up and down the aisles. She's there for exercise and to see what all the new things are. She may even have an emotional experience, like she'll walk by Oreos and say, oh, my teenage son had a really terrible week. He loves his Oreos. I'm going to take him home so he feels better. Or my husband has been working so hard, he deserves a steak. We're going to get a steak. You know, so even when we're out in the world, we often think of things on an emotional level more than we're going to think about it on a budget level. Does that help? A little question, thought? Okay, how many of you guys have seen? Now, let me just stop here first. Stop it for a minute and ask. Guys, how many of you identify as a search and rescue shopper? Raise your hand if you are a search and rescue shopper. You just go in, get out. Some of the women go in, go out, mostly. If you're trying to entertain yourself, you're going to go to Cabela's and do that there, right? But not a grocery store. Yeah, so it's different.
My grocery store for me is like Cheers, where everybody knows my name.
Oh, there you go. He goes for social interaction, not groceries. Okay, that's okay too. All right, so one of the other biggest differences is actually how our eyes are created. Okay, so if you'll see this, unspoken communication, they're looking and they see like basically one thing. Women will, in just half a second, be able to tell you what color everything was on and was it matching and all those other things, because there's a reason for this so that you understand this. Women actually have more cones in our eyes that show more colors. So often, have you ever seen a guy get dressed and nothing is like green, but none of it matches? It's because they don't have the capacity. Their eye is built differently than ours. So ladies, will you be kind to the men who are alive? If they show up in all green, but none of the green matches, okay? There's a logical explanation. I will tell you that when my husband became an institute director, he went into seminaries and institutes. One of the classes they had was Dress for Success, and what the guy told him is this: never get dressed without running it by your wife, because kids are brutal. So we would go shopping for all of his stuff, and then I would lay it out on the bed, and he'd say, this goes with this. I'd say, yes. This goes with this, yes. This goes with this, yes. He never varied, never. Because he knew he was going to not have the kids make fun of him if he was wearing something attached. Now, some guys are a little better at matching than others. My husband was not a clothes guy anyway, but some are, okay? So it doesn't hold all the time. But there is definitely a difference in the color schemes that we see. They don't just see it we see it really broad. These are the ones the guys get: blue, green, yellow, orange, pink, cloud, and red. Ladies, what is chartreuse? There is not such a color as chartreuse. That's how we go, right? The 64 crayon box is for us ladies. Okay, that's for us. All right, so the men also have one more X chromosome and women have 2 X chromosomes. And that's, by the way, that's like 7 million versus 14 million. This is the difference in the eyes. So you understand, they see things differently, literally. Now, this one's kind of fun. Men also, when you see this, their vision is more like this, where ours is more like this. Ladies, if you got room, do this and wiggle your fingers and see if you can see them. Then do the same thing. You see your fingers around this?
Yeah.
You can? Okay, most guys can. So also, we look side to side more, and then men also have a tendency to look this way, and women have a tendency to look this way. So we have a broader scope generally of just the way the physiological of the body is different. So because it's different, then, by the way, this is a great thing for our hunters, right? They can hone in on woolly beasts and bring it home, right? So this is very helpful for them. This is helpful for us because we have children and they don't stay right in front of us ever. So this is good that we have a broader scope of vision to see each other also, okay? Now I'm gonna put up 2 pictures. And just don't shout it out loud, but I want you to look at both of them and see which one you can identify first. You may have seen these in the past. So let's look. There's this one, there's this one. Okay? Do you see what you see? Okay. So on the very first one, on this one right here, what do you see? Fly. Did everybody see it the first time you looked at it? Okay, how many of you did not see it the first time you looked at it? You had to wait a minute, okay? How many did see it the first time?
What did they say?
A fly. Oh, she still doesn't know. Fly. F, L, you move the white out the white. White out the white. Okay. On the other one, on the one farther than that, how many of you saw a beautiful girl with a feather in her hair? How many of you saw an old woman first? Now, if I show it to you, you'll be able to see both. But this is the young woman, her face is right here. This is her eye and her nose, and this is the hair, and this is like a big cap on her head. And the
Deer on her head.
What?
What about the deer on her head?
The deer on her head. Boy, I don't know. I'm not seeing that one. Where's the deer? Oh, this is the hunter gatherer seeing the deer. Now, but if you want to see the old woman, here we go for the old woman. Here is her nose. Here is her eye. She's got on a big scarf. You see the old woman? Okay. Yes, question?
This is being very vulnerable and you're gonna analyze me, but.
No, go ahead.
To be like a lion eating a pretty lady.
Yeah. I didn't bring my Rorschach socks with me today. Okay, the old lady's right here. This is her nose. This is her chin. This is her eye and her other eye right here. And this is her scarf over her head. You can't see it. All I can see is the deer. Okay. Are you a hunter? I'm a hunter. Okay. It's there. But there is even differences when we look at exactly the same thing. We often see something different. We will perceive something different. Not wrong or right, but different then. And so it becomes really important for us to have really good communication because how you're experiencing the world can be very different than the way that the person you're sitting next to is experiencing it. And for that reason, it's important for us to know how to do that, okay? So here is one of the things that is the biggest conversation that I have a lot. Are we the way we are because of social conditioning? Meaning, my mother told me as a girl, she dressed me as a girl, she gave me girl toys, so therefore I'm a girl. Or is it the fact that it's a biological evidence of hormones and we're largely responsible for our attitudes and presences, okay? So the idea is that it's both, okay? Some people grow up in homes where we have a blended idea, like if you have a dominant mom, she might be teaching her sons how to feel, have a good emotional intelligence. If you grow up in a home that mom is closed down and she's not terribly emotional, then that part of that learning curve may not be taking as hold in the girls as it would be if she was more emotionally involved. The same thing is true of the guys, is that when you are a guy, by the way, I have this experiment I've been doing for years in my office. I have a fidget, I should have brought one. It is a long thing that you can bend in any direction. And I give it to I work with kids 8-year-olds and up. Do you know what every little boy turns that into? A gun. Never have I had a boy turn it into anything else. And he does it within just 3 or 4 minutes. You know what every girl turns it into? 2 things. They don't do a flower because it won't bend that well. A heart or a circle, a bracelet. Bracelet. Every time. And I don't do anything. And they're all different colors or not because they're pink or blue or green. I let them choose their color. But there's just something that takes over because they perceive life differently and they're processing life differently. Not wrong or right, differently. Okay? So here we go. Research shows that we are more products of our biology than we are victims of social stereotypes. We are different because our brains are wired differently. This causes us to perceive the world in different ways and have different values and priorities, not better or worse, just different. Okay, so let's start with that. Now, this is one of the biggest problems that men and women have. Men and women have a different need for communication. Men need to average about 7,000 words a day. Women are 20,000 words a day. Is that surprising to you men? Okay, no, you're going, yeah, I knew that. But here's the problem that we have. When you come home at the end of the day, I want you to imagine that you've had a day where nobody's been with you. Maybe it has been because your kids are all in high school, or maybe it's because you just are a stay-at-home mom and you haven't really interacted with anybody. But we actually, women have a chemical in our brain that gives us a need to speak and to talk. Now, we might start talking to ourselves. That's a little scary, okay? But we have a need to speak. Now, on the average, the men go out into the world and they use their 7,000 words approximately by lunch. So they come home at the end of the day and they're done. And you ask them, how was your day? And what is most likely the answer? Fine. It's a one-word answer. Fine, good, okay. Because they are at the limit of their need to speak. And you, on the other hand, have been home all day with nobody to speak to, and you are like Mount Vesuvius. And your husband will say something to you like, how was your day? And you start from the moment you walked out the door. You are a blow by blow, color by color, move by move. This is what happened, and this was happened, that's what she said, and that's what I did. And men often talk to me about, my wife just wants to drown me in words. Okay? Now, the reason this is important is because if you're going to be in any kind of a relationship, and by the way, this is little men as well as big men, little women as well as big women. I got in the car yesterday with my teenage granddaughter. She's 14. And you would expect if I get in the car with a teenager, she's going to just put it on her phone and it's done. Oh no. She sucked all the air out of the car. She was talking. And how is this? And grandma telling me about this. And for like 45 minutes, I think she breathed in and breathed out while she was talking. And I thought, wow, this is like, she's 14, she's ready to use her 20,000 words right on me. So if you're talking to someone that is a 20,000 word person, your problem is that you want to shut off and just shut out and stop listening. And that becomes a problem because how many times have you heard, you're not even hearing me? Because usually, and this is for the women married to or in relationships with 7,000 word men, is that usually they are really, really good. If they really develop the skill of listening, maybe for 15 minutes. But past that, the lights are out and they're just nodding, thinking, Lord, please let her stop. So, women, if you are wanting to communicate with them, first of all, I'm going to tell you this is going to be my advice. Stop narrating life. Okay, narrate minimal. So what I often say to the women is if you need to communicate something that you need change in, you need to talk to them like they understand, which is they're kind of think of them like Post-it notes. Then think of it like a checklist, like bullet points. So I need these 3 things from you. If they want to know why, they'll ask, but you don't have to tell them. Okay, I need you to take out the trash. I need to have you call your mother and whatever. If he has a question about any of those, he'll say, why do I need to call my mom? And then you can narrate a tiny bit. But if you launch into, I need these 5 things from you, and you've got a 45-minute narrative going on, he might have got the first one, he might have got the second one, but this is all, and then you go, you didn't even hear me. You didn't hear a thing I said because you weren't listening. No, you over-talked. Okay, now men, on the other side of this, when the women connect through conversation. So when you come into this relationship and they say, how is your day? You have to save enough words to say something besides fine. Okay, so what I challenge most of the men to do is to look and say, I'm going to find one thing on this day that I'm going to share with her. I'm going to tell her about, by the way, it doesn't matter what it is. You can tell her about your lunch. You can tell her about how there are no paper towels in the bathroom. She doesn't care. She just wants to have you share her. Ladies are laughing. That's true, isn't it? See, they're all going, we don't really care. We just want you to talk to us. Okay, I'm serious about this. So you come home and walk in the door. The best thing you can do is to sit and say, I'm going to share with them. I've thought of one thing today. I want to give them a little narrative on, and they'll be just like, oh, because they are just dying to have you talk to them. And I'll give you a little hint. If you look at your dating, how did you get your sweetheart to marry you? I guarantee you there was a ton of talking and a ton of listening, right? It was communication that pulled you two together. And mostly probably what it was the guys going, and the women, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a difference between talking and communication.
That's true. There is true, but we're not talking is just connection. Communicating is when I need something to change. Or have you understand? Yes, So it cannot be a one-way street where she's doing all the talking and you are like minimally engaged. It needs to be that you're both engaged talking in order to fill this need of communication and connection. Okay, so one of the biggest things is that if you can get this idea in your head, then you come in the door ready to share. Women, cut down and stop drowning them, okay, in words. Realize that 15 minutes, you have a little mercy and just cut it off. Okay, that's, by the way, men, I'm gonna give you a little hint. If you ever have a woman in your life that she's drowning you, that is a signal she needs a lunch out with her girlfriends. And you just say to her, I think, have you gone out to lunch with your friend lately? I would love to pay for both of you. I have a busy, and by the way, ladies, when we used to minister, I had a lady that she was basically homebound because she was taking care of her mother-in-law. Husband would walk in the door. I had been there 3 hours and I would look at him and say, you're welcome. And he'd say, why? I said, I have drained all of her 20,000 words. I think we're at 40,000. You're off the hook tonight. He just went to me like, thank you. So we girls, we need girlfriends. And if you don't have girlfriends in your life, you need girlfriends or someone who will listen to you, because we have the capacity to listen to 20,000 words each, right? If you're going out to lunch for 3 hours, it feels like a minute with your girlfriends. And she's talking and you're talking and you're talking and she's talking and we're talking over each other, and that's all that happens too. Okay, we need, if you are feeling like I'm not getting communicated with, you probably need lunch with a girlfriend or two, or a teenage 14-year-old girl. She's not gonna talk back, she's gonna talk back. Okay, all right, let's go to this. Okay, there is a guy out there who he is a wonderful clinician, but he does it through humor. And I want to share something with you. It's called Men's Brains versus Women's Brains. Some of you might have seen it, but it probably capsulizes this better than anything I could probably do. So we're gonna watch it. By the way, did anybody lose keys? Do these look familiar? It's got a gray.
Some nice car.
Huh? I don't know. Let's see. Anybody want to go out and see if they got a new car? Click in the car parking lot. Okay. All right. No.
Okay, so now we're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right. Now, men's brains are very unique.
Oh.
Hold on, I pushed the wrong button. Sorry, I went back to the beginning. Sorry. Wow. Yeah, you're welcome, guys. You're welcome. No. I know, he's out of here. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I will leave this here.
Okay, so now we're going to start discussing men's brains and women's brains and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right, now men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything.
Hold on.
We got a box for the car. We got a box for the money.
Okay, sorry.
We're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right. Now, men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We got a box for the car. We got a box for the money. We got a box for the job. We got a box for you. We got a box for the kids. We got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is the boxes don't touch. When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box. We pull that box out. We open the box. We discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Sorry, my Catholic upbringing got in there for a minute, but I'm not a Catholic, but I went to Catholic school when I was little. I had a nun who taught on hell like she was born and raised there. I mean, it did be good, actually. It was a good thing. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. Money's connected to the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother. It's like the internet superhighway. And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. Women tend to care about everything. And she just loves it. Okay. Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. And we love it. That's why a guy can sit in front of the TV and go. This drives our wives nuts because they'll come up and say, "Stop it! You can't possibly be watching anything!" I'm not. Go away. Now they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. Yeah, they can make all the wires and stuff like that, bunch of brain activity and all that. I think he's dead. Huh? Women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing
I know, waffles and spaghetti, you guys get it now? Okay. So, how this works in communication, and by the way, ladies, we never have the capacity to go into the nothing box, we just don't do it. We just keep going. When they put brain scans on us at night when we're sleeping, we are still like this. Men are like, really like that. So it's really remarkable. So men, by the way, need nothing boxes. They need, often what they do is they go into their nothing box to process life. In the book, Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, he calls this the cave time. And so it is important that we respect the cave time, ladies. Even though it might make us crazy, it looks like nothing's going on, but the truth is they're in their heads processing stuff. Men talk to gather information and then they go into their cave brain or their nothing box and they're processing it. So if you're wanting to start a conversation with a man, one of the most important things that you can ask is this question: is this a good time to talk? It may look like he's doing absolutely nothing, but you don't know what's going on in the cave. It could be that he's saying that he's already thinking about something, he's already down the road processing something, and you want him to talk to you right now. He's not available. It's like there's people are home, the lights are on, but then he can't answer the door really, unless he closes that box he's processing and steps into your box. And I'll give you a good example. There was one day I went to my husband, I said, I've got to run to the store for 10 minutes. We got the kids. He was watching football. And he goes, yeah, and run off. 10 minutes later, I'm not back. I get my phone rings. Where are you? I said, honey, I just told you I was going to the store. No, you didn't. I said, yeah, have you lost the kid? Not yet. I said, okay. But I had literally stood right in front of him. He was in his football box, not in the Jody box. And he did not really compute the idea that I was leaving the house and leaving him with 5 children, or I'm certain he would have come out of that football box and said something. So it's very common, ladies, we need to respect that just because we see these guys seemingly doing something mindless like watching television or sitting still, they may still have something very much going on in their heads. And so the question becomes, is this a good time? I need to talk to you. It's a very important question because he has a right to have that experience of saying yes or no to that, okay? Men, and by the way, women, the other thing that we do is we often process, and then we come right to him, whatever he's doing, and says, we need to talk, which fear strikes in every heart. Okay, because when we do that, we are already ready to just have the conversation. He doesn't even know what's going on in your head. Okay, so let me give you a good example. We were coming home from the Dallas Temple one day, and I was hungry. And by the way, this is my indirect, maybe I should do that first. Let me grab my thing. You're in like the danger zone. Okay, so take time to think, someone to talk it out with. Women need to work out life out loud, okay, before I tell you the story. We need to process it. So when a woman starts to talk to you men, oftentimes she is trying to figure it out. This is how she's doing. But the problem is you guys jump into problem solving. Like you assume, because this is what men do. Men approach other men to get information to solve a problem. If you come to him, he's automatically assuming that you need him to fix a problem because that's what happens at work. What you mostly are doing, by the way, men, what she's mostly doing is asking you, I just need you to talk with me. What she's really saying is, I need you to let me talk it out without you problem solving. Now that's very difficult because that's like your best thing. Okay, so if you get confused talking to a woman about what she needs, this is your get out of jail free card. You say to her, is this a problem solving thing or is this a processing thing? And most of the time she'll say, I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to hear me. I'll give you a story. There was a man came home. He's met at the front door by his wife, and the first words out of her mouth are, do you know what your son did today? Something horrible, you know, right off the bat. And then she launches into this narration of, he got a marker and he wrote on every single wall and on his sister's, and he wrote on their brand new bedspread that she just got, and she was so upset. But before she could get through the whole story, he's stopping and saying, how did he get a marker? Aren't those supposed to be in the closet? He's problem solving right up front. She doesn't need him to problem solve. I now believe me, there is not a marker in the universe in this house. She's problem solved that, okay? But what she needs him to say is clear at the end of it. The end is where she says, I'm so upset. I just got that brand new bedspread. I saved up for it forever. And I'm really upset that our bedspread's destroyed. What she was looking for was at the end of the story. She was looking for compassion, understanding, and honestly, the best response would have been, do you want me to kill him? Should I just kill him now? No, don't kill him. I'm already grounded forever. He'll never draw again in his life. I've got to solve. But women, when the women are coming to you, men, with the problem, realize that what she probably needs is she's narrating the front and she needs the end, okay? Women, if you need more information from your men, you're going to have to ask questions because he won't fill the blank naturally. But men, if you start to fill the blank better, it would be helpful for us to understand too. But so understanding that women need to talk to fix problems and men need to just generally go into cave time. So what I'm going to say to you is the best thing you can do, ladies, is say to the men, here's what I need from you. Why don't you go think about it, cave time, and then let's talk about it tomorrow or the next day. Instead of saying, just keep talking, we'll figure it out. What you're saying is be a woman. Okay, and he's not going to do that. And the more he talks, by the way, what happens usually, which I do in my office a lot, is he's getting pushed in the corner, he wants time to process, she won't let it. And then he ends up agreeing to a whole bunch of stuff just to get her to stop talking. And then he doesn't do it. Okay, that's the normal pattern of why I have to work with this. So women talk, stop, give them cave time, and then go fix it. Give them time and then come back to do that, okay? Men, if she's talking to you, it may not necessarily mean she needs you to solve it. She just needs to process it, okay? So she just wants to do that. Now, by the way, we train our kids to do this. I don't know if you know that, but when a little girl falls down and skins her knee, what do we most likely do? Oh, poor baby, come sit on my lap. Let me kiss it better. To the boys, we say, man up, cowboy up, don't be a sissy, stop crying, don't be a girl, okay? My son actually says when his boys get hurt, he says to just go rub a little dirt in it, it'll be fine. Until 2 months ago, when he came back and there was a gash on his son's leg needing 6 stitches, and all the boys were covered around rubbing dirt in it. So the blood didn't stop. I said to him, oh my land, stop doing this. So we often have to like allow our boys to have the feelings. We have to validate them instead of calling them out on it. We need to let them cry if they're going to cry, be upset if they're going to be upset. We just challenge them to use their words a lot, okay? But with the little girls, we let them be emotional. By the way, you're marrying them, so you ought to know that. Okay, all right. Listening and talking. These are some of the differences in men. Thanks. Men take turns talking. If you ever watch men talk, they sit and they talk one at a time. Do we do that, women? No, we talk over each other. Look to this. Interruptions when talking are irritating, and it really is a sign of aggression. So if you're talking over a man who's talking, it's a sign of aggression, and they're feeling hostile towards you. You're creating hostility. Okay. Men talk or listen. That waffle. They don't do both at the same time. Okay. All right. When they interrupt, it is a sign of competition or aggression. And if we're not careful, ladies, our interrupting becomes a sign of aggression. So we need to realize we have to talk like they do. Gotcha. All right, women talk to show connection to what you're saying and to build relationships. They often interrupt each other to validate or interrupt the conversation. They're spaghetti. They're talking at a table full of women at lunch. There are probably at least 3 conversations going on at the same time, and we're listening to all of them.
Yes.
Okay, so when the women interrupt, you understand it's really they're trying to connect, but women, we really need to stop doing that. Okay, all righty, and the last one, let's see. Oh, they use silence to punish. Women use silence to punish because the worst thing that can happen to us is somebody that we're not who's going to talk to us. So when women start to be silent on you, it's because they're angry at you, if you haven't figured that out yet. Now, some men think that's a good thing, okay? All right, now, let me do the indirect versus direct of what we're gonna do here. I've only got a few minutes, so I can't do it all, but you can pick the whole thing up on the internet, okay? This is direct versus indirect. Let me just look at all those statements. Go and make me an omelet for breakfast. Make me an omelet for breakfast, will you? Would you make an omelet for breakfast for me, please? Do you think we should have an omelet for breakfast? Would it be great to have an omelet for breakfast? Do you feel like an omelet for breakfast? Okay, so typically more men, they're gonna talk directly what they need. Women are gonna beat around the bush. Women, you need to stop beating around the bush. You need to speak your truth. The worst story in my life, I think, is 25th wedding anniversary. I said, my husband said, what do you want to do? I said, I think it'd be fun to do something fun. He says, okay. I said, you go plan it. I was thinking dinner, dancing, nice not out thing. I ended up going to the monster truck rally at the salt fires. And I was ticked. And he said, you said you wanted to do something fun. And you said a while ago you'd like to do this. And I said, not for my 20th wedding anniversary. And I go, oh. And then he said this, which I'm going to share with you just to end. Don't you understand that I want you to be happy? Just help me to know how to do that. Women, please speak your truth. If you want to go to dinner and dancing, you need to say it. Don't expect. The women's biggest problem is we think, if he loved me, he would, dot, dot, dot. I'm like, he would know this. He would know this about me. He would know my favorite flowers. And by the way, men, if you do know that, you get to like go off the run. I'm going to tell you that. But women, we have to speak our truth. And so the men don't have to go shoot in the dark and fail. And that's awful for them. They want to do the right thing. We just have to help them know what it is. Problem is, we're kind of a moving target. Okay, so we have to speak our truth. Let me just go to the end of this. Let's see, this will be an hour and a half. Okay, let's go to the very last one. One of the biggest problems I see in communication right now is this dang internet phone thing. Okay. We do not know how to talk to each other anymore. And if you're sitting and you're having a conversation with someone more than please pick up milk, please stop it. We have to talk to each other face to face, or at least voice to voice. But if you are having any relationship that is totally on text, can I just tell you that the numbers of times that I have to create, they come to my office paying me big bucks just so I can untangle what they meant in a text is stupid. So I'm going to say to you, when you are out dating or when you're with somebody, the most polite thing you can do is put your phone away. There is a real person in front of you, and please do that. I often, when I go out, if my phone rings in my purse, I don't answer it. Everybody at the table goes, aren't you going to get that? But I look at them and I say, no, because you are here with me right now, and you're way more important than probably a spam call, honestly. So can I suggest, challenge you to look and do this, get rid of that. That's the phone stacking thing. And let me just end with this. Communication is to a relationship is like oxygen. Without it, it dies. So work on the communication skills. Work at more listening, look at more being more speaking your truth. Anything you've heard here today that's kind of rung a bell, like, yeah, that's me, maybe I'm right about the other thing too. Okay, so if I nailed anything about you, then please pay attention to the rest of it, because that's probably what you need to hear most. And you can spend a lot of money to come to see somebody like me, or you can just do it on your own. So this is on my YouTube channel, Jody VanDrimmelen. If you want to go look at it, watch the rest of it. Can I vary my testimony that when we work at communications, our relationships get better? And that is just the thing that just makes all the relationship good. I know that probably the hardest thing about being a widow is that there isn't that communication on a regular basis. And so as you have that opportunity, practice, by the way, dating's great. That's a way to practice new communication skills. You can watch it and that person's gonna go away and you can try the next one. Okay? Okay, try communication. It's a great way right now. If you weren't good at it before, it doesn't mean you can't be good now. And I say these things in Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. You're welcome.
Like, you know, like,